Hello, my name is Call, and this is the presentation for the graph application and research that used for Unity shaders and them using graphs. Now, first off, what is a graph? A graph is a set of data, is a data structure that consists of a set of data that has a finite set of nodes or vertices as they're called, that connect to each other using edges, so that way you can jump around it instead of having to go in a line like you would normally a double linked list. That's done by having a set of data, as the example is shown here, is that all of these are a vertex, then they can be connected to each other, to different ones, using the edges that have, right now they just have an example weight of 1 to connect. So A connects to B, and A connects to C, along with D and E, but it does not connect to F. Thus, to get to F, you'd have to go to A to D to F, or A to C to F, or A, B, E, then F, and such. And this can be used to represent real life, such as how the telephone lines work. They can jump around. Who's friends with who in a group of friends? You could have 5 people. Number 1's friends with number 3 and 4, but he's not with 2 and 5, but interacts with them through 3 and 4 because they are friends with them and such. Or Facebook and various other applications that we use. Now, on to the main stuff. A shader is a script that you go through, and it contains a master node or list that you go through, and you change values on that node through the graph of, and it contains things such as the albedo, how metallic something is, and such. So you go through, and the albedo, each child of the master node is in itself its own little graph that, depending on how it's structured, you get different stuff, such as for the red, green, blue child or graph of it, is if you have a vector of 1 red, 0 green, and 1 blue, you'd get a color of purple. Or if you have a 1 red, 0 green, 0 blue, you'd get red as a color and such. Thus, depending on the user input, you can get different colors and how shiny you want something to be based on how metallic it is or the light and such. And it's all done through graphing what connects to what. Now, the way I'm going to show you is the newer way that came out just this year, I believe, that allows the user to visually script it, as shown here, versus as shown on the bottom, versus on the left, the old way of having to code in everything, and it's not fun to code it. I've never done it, but just looking at it, it looks like something that can take a while, especially to debug it if you mess anything up. Now, how the graphs are used. The newer way is entirely visual scripting. So based on your input, it creates the script from that. Is that it begins with a master node that, though you can't see it here, it's shown here, of a master node that has all these stuff, such as how albedo, how metallic it is, how smooth it is, whether you want it to be bumpy like a rock, or whether you want it to be bumpy or smooth like it washed down a river for a couple centuries or whatever, the oscillation, the alpha and such. But then you go and based on your input, you can create nodes and such, and connect them to each other as shown, such as this list is, this is the end product you would get using the shape of it once. But you start here, then you run it through each vertice on the graph through the edges to get your final point. And each effect that you want has a different thing associated with, such as this is the albedo. This line's the albedo, so that's what the albedo is and such. And this is also easier because it allows for instant verification of what's being done. So if you don't like the way something is, you can backtrack, find that point, either disconnect it or modify it to fit your need, versus with the code having to go through, save it, go to it, see what the results are, and then have to go back and try and figure out what went wrong in the code versus easier to do. It also helps because this way you can do it as you would if you were doing a graph on a piece of paper, allowing, I would say, easier access and easier understanding of it versus if you had to figure out how to put it into code. Now, right now, I'm going to do a demonstration. I already have my material, my sphere, which I'm going to be using it on, which has the material equipped and then a shader equipped onto the material. Now, here's the master node. Now, I'm going to create a node. So let's see, texture 2D asset. Bring that here. Do that. Connect that to our albedo. Right now, because this is white, it's white. Now, if you want to input something, does that. You can change how metallic something looks. So basically how shiny it is and such. You can change how smooth it is. That's changing how it looks, the oscillation, the alpha. You can, even if I'm not mistaken, you can go through and let's see. Change how something looks, but that's either. Yeah, but that's the basics of it. As you can see, it would be a lot simpler to deal with than if you had to code everything out. And here are my references, and that'll be it. If there's anything, if you have any questions, feel free to message me or anything similar to that. Thank you for your time. Bye.